Hi, everyone. Welcome to PPA 696 Research Methods. I'm your professor, Jake Campbell, and this video is going to introduce you all to the course and a little bit about what we're going to be talking about throughout the semester and give you kind of a rundown on what to expect in this asynchronous online course so you have the information you need to be successful over the course of the next 17 weeks or so. A little bit about me, a little bit about the course. This is PPA 696 Research Methods. This is an asynchronous course, meaning that we will not be meeting live on campus or virtually via Zoom together at the same time. Everything will be somewhat self-paced. There's going to be deadlines and weekly requirements of you throughout the semester, but obviously everything in terms of the subject matter is going to be delivered through web content, including pre-recorded videos like the one that you're participating in here. So you should have at least a bit of a familiar experience in terms of lecture material from a faculty member who will be able to provide information and explanation. You just won't be getting it live, sitting in the same virtual space or same physical space with me during the time that occurs. This course does have a prerequisite, so you all have probably taken already PPA 517, the Analytical Skills Development, or another statistics course at some point in your past before being able to register for this course. Most likely been a long time for many of you since you've taken that course, and that may raise some inclination that you're a little bit worried about being in this course, especially as a 696 level course. You should know just in general that obviously we are not going to be having you do any type of computations or actual data analysis or statistical analysis in this course. We're going to be talking mostly about the scientific method and process and how to design research studies and the decisions you might make to make a good, well-founded research design. Obviously, if you've taken classes, things like statistics complement and go well with things like we'll talk about measurement and how you design data collection strategies and measurement approaches, thus in turn how you would have to analyze that data after you got it. And so knowing that information definitely does make some of that a little bit easier because if you've already got that background, some of the discussions on measurement might already be a bit more familiar. But fundamentally, I think most folks are probably going to do just fine, even if you're a bit rusty, if not completely have forgotten all of what you learned in those statistics classes, because that's not really going to be the focus here. One of our weeks of this course, we're going to talk a little bit about some statistical methodologies and analytical approaches. I'm going to describe how those work to you in such a way that conceptually, if you understand them, you'll be able to do just fine and grasp that information. No one's going to ask you to be able to actually compute anything or work with any data in this course. So you're okay, at least in terms of having to remember how to do any of that, because it won't be required. I'm Jake Campbell. I'm the professor for this course. I've been teaching here at Cal State Long Beach for over a decade now. I was actually an MPA student in the Cal State Long Beach MPA program on campus long time ago. I got my start, did my MPA while I was an active duty member of the U.S. Coast Guard. Was doing helicopter search and rescue operations out of LAX and then taking night classes at Cal State Long Beach. Left the military and then decided to pursue a PhD. And after my first year of PhD studies at the Claremont Colleges in public policy and research methods, was brought back on to adjunct teach here in the program. So many of the faculty members that some of you have are people who were still here teaching me at the time. I was brought back on at that point and have been teaching different classes over the last 10 or so years or more for the program. Primarily, I teach the research methods class, usually once, sometimes multiple times a semester. Since that date, I've also teach emergency planning and management on a regular basis as an elective offering in the program based off of my background, both with the military and in public health space, doing a lot of emergency response type operations. I had previously also taught like a race and inequality and public policy course. I've taught government budgeting and finance before. So a number of different things in the program, and I've seen a good amount of the different offerings as well as teach a number. So you might have me in a different class as well. Beyond that, so obviously I got my start in government working for military as part of the Coast Guard. I've previously worked as a performance auditor with the U.S. Government Accountability Office before, to have a master's in public administration, a bachelor's in political science, and my PhD is in public policy analysis and research methods. In addition, I've worked a number of different places in the health space. My current occupation is the Chief Data Officer for the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health. I used to be the Assistant Chief Deputy Officer or Assistant Chief Data Officer for the Department of Veterans Affairs in Washington, D.C., working at the Secretary's office there. I was the data chief for the Department of Public Health for San Bernardino County, and so I've got a lot of experience obviously with the pandemic and doing data work in the healthcare space. I was also the chief data officer for the County of Santa Barbara CEO's office for a while. So research methods, data statistics, those type of things tend to be my living and more of what my expertise revolves in, and how we apply that to government programs and services, specifically in the healthcare space, the public health domain, and health human services more than anything. But a lot of what you'll learn here is still going to be very applicable to lots of other different domains. So we've had lots of students, and I've helped them with research designs in the criminal justice domain, working in local government. You obviously have economic programming, you have community development programming, social services, lots of different things. Most of what we're going to talk about here will apply. In terms of communication with me, obviously you can send messages through the Canvas inbox function. I definitely recommend that. That will go directly to me at my email address. You're welcome to email me directly at jake.campbell@csulb.edu. Either one is fine, but obviously with the Canvas notification, I will get the email and there'll be sort of a record of our conversation in Canvas. If for some reason you can't get a hold of me that way, you're always welcome to text, or if you have an emergency situation or something like there's a due date for an assignment and you have a family emergency or personal emergency, you need to get a hold of me quickly and you don't want to wait for me to have to check my email, you can also text me as well. I'm pretty responsive most of the time checking my email. I do give myself in our course policies a couple days to reply to emails. Most of the time, I need much quicker than that, though, so I typically will always see those. Disclaimer here, obviously, keep an eye on the potential for changes. I do reserve a right, if needed, to make any adjustments to the syllabus during this course. Almost never does that happen. And if I do have to make a change, it's usually in the student's favor to push the deadline back or to drop a requirement or something like that. If I do have to make any changes, however, I will obviously email everybody through Canvas. Make sure you get those notifications, and I'll post an announcement on the learning management system as well so that you can keep up to date about things that are changing. But keep an eye, obviously, on whatever email inbox your Canvas alerts go to, because any of the notifications I send will be through Canvas, which will in turn go to whatever email address you have connected there. Overview of this course. So PPA 696, this course is designed on research methodology, talking about the scientific method and the scientific process and the tools of developing a research project and how to do that using the scientific method, right? We are trying to help you develop advanced research skills with a focus on public sector program evaluation. I bring that up because learning research methods is really about learning a process and a set of tools. Having a process and a set of tools taught to you without having something to tangibly apply them to is very difficult. And oftentimes it takes something that's a bit more theoretical, and it's harder to teach to someone if they don't actually have a place to apply it. And so in public administration programs such as this one, it does make a ton of sense for us to focus on, we're going to teach you research methods, we're going to teach you the tools, but we're going to apply those in an area that makes sense for public administration, specifically designing evaluations of performance or effectiveness of nonprofit and government program service delivery. So that way you can both learn the tools and then be able to apply them, both to help you understand the tools in the process, but to then also be able to better use those in a situation that is applicable to you. So we're going to talk about designing, implementing, and assessing evaluations. In this course, you are going to be building an evaluation design. I'm not going to ask you to actually evaluate a program. You are not going to have to collect any data or do any analysis, but we are going to use that framework to help apply these tools and help you be able to understand the subject matter and apply that material in a way that is beneficial to you in your work. So we're going to cover a number of different topics here. Things like human science and inquiry. We're going to introduce what the scientific method is, the scientific process, and how it applies to program evaluation. We'll talk about research ethics. We will talk a little bit about experiments as well as statistics in one of the weeks that's not mentioned here, just to give you sort of an introduction and a recap of some of the stuff you probably learned in statistics as a foundation for things that are a little bit different in non-experimental settings like we often run into in program evaluation. We're going to talk about logic models. Logic models are a method to simplify and be able to outline what a program is and does to help you map out the activities and the outputs and outcomes that would result from that program. And then we'll dig into, once you've built your logic model, you understand the program you've built, or you are setting out to build an evaluation design for it. What are the research questions, the hypotheses that you have for that program? What measurement strategy should you use to collect data that you need about outcomes of interest? What is your measurement design, your research design going to be, your sampling decisions? If you have to do survey data collection, how to do that effectively, the data collection process, all of those things we're going to cover in this course. So all the learning outcomes you can read through. And I recommend that if you want to follow along, all this information that are in these slides is in the syllabus in more detail. The point of this video is to give you kind of an overview of the syllabus as though we were talking face to face in our first week of class, so that you can kind of get an understanding of where this course is going. With a bit of additional explanation beyond that. But that said, there is more detail in the syllabus. So I encourage you to, if you need to, pause this video to read these sections in there. I won't read everything for you because obviously you can do that yourself, right? But the learning outcomes, right? The primary goals here are to teach you tools. I want you to be able to understand how research works in program evaluation. I want you to be able to understand key concepts in research design and the research design process. And I want you to be able to apply those to being able to build an evaluation for a program, right? So all of our activities that we're going to have in this course are going to focus around that concept. Course materials for this course. So there's a primary textbook. It's the Babbie, Earl Babbie Practice of Social Research 15th edition text. You can see the picture here on the screen. That is the primary required textbook of you that should be available electronically through the Day One Learning Resources option. If you do pursue that option, you can get physical textbook version. There's a 14th edition as well that is mostly the same. So if you do want to save a little bit of money and you want a physical book, or you want to buy a digital version as well instead of renting one, you can go for that additional 14th edition version and do just fine. But that is the textbook. That's the primary textbook that will be required. Everything else beyond that is already available to you on Canvas for free. So there are a number of different video lectures. I've pre-recorded all of those lectures for you, and they're available today on Canvas. And so each week you're going to have one or a couple video lectures where I will explain in this type of environment what you need to know about the class and what is going on. About the subject matter at hand. There's also a couple different videos that are linked. There are different YouTube videos that I've pulled from other places that supplement my lectures, and other people have done different types of modules on topics that I think are informative and much better than what I am able to produce with animated videos and things like that. So those are all available, and those will replace us having a live class session with each other for you to watch on a week-to-week basis. There's also additional supplementary content. This is also all available on Canvas as of present. So that includes some different book chapter PDFs, some journal articles, a couple other PDF documents that are little best practice guides or handout documents. Those third-party videos I mentioned, but those are all available to you for free. They are on Canvas as of today already, with the class being started. So everything that you need resource-wise is available already on there. How this course works, I'm going to talk a little bit about the assignments, the evaluation process. Note that on Canvas, there are going to be separate little videos. They're about 10 minutes apiece. I go into detail and explain each of the assignments and the requirements and the grading of each of those in detail for each assignment in every one of those videos. This is going to give you a high-level overview, but I definitely encourage you to understand all the assignments. Make sure you read the full text of the syllabus that's describing each of the different assignments, and then watch each of those videos that I've made available to you so that you can understand each individual assignment, especially if you want to go back to that video when you're actually working on the assignment. You don't have to skip through the rest of this longer video. But a number of different things. Discussion board posts. So each of these discussion board posts, there's going to be 10 of them. They're with 5 points apiece. You have one, maybe two per week. I think there's 2 weeks where there's two, and then every other week there'll be one. These are going to be a prompt. I'm going to ask you to engage a little bit with the subject matter in that week. And so I'm going to give you a prompt, and typically what you're going to be doing is focusing on applying the research methods tool that we have learned to a specific question that I have prompted you with, and you will see that there's also an example response. So I'm going to give you a question and a prompt to respond to, and then I'm going to give you an example. There's an article that you will read in this course called by Chen and some other folks. It is the Taiwanese Garbage Reduction Program Evaluation, and that article I will then use as an example to answer all of the other additional discussion board posts, so you can see what a good answer looks like and how to apply the material based off an article and a program that you're already familiar with. So one of the first discussion posts in this course is going to ask you to pick one or two. It's going to ask you to pick a primary and a secondary program. And the way that it will actually work is that you're going to pick a program of interest that you would like to work with for this class as a focus area. I will then approve one of the two choices that you have. And then based off of your approved program, you are then going to use that as the basis for the evaluation design, all of this discussion board prompts. So I may ask you to then pick a program. And the next week I may say, develop a research question hypothesis for evaluating that program, right? 2 weeks later, I may say, okay, come up with a measurement strategy for an outcome to evaluate that program, right? And so we will apply and build upon week by week the different material specific to that program that you have chosen. Then you'll see sort of the rest of these assignments kind of compound on that. So one of your pre-instructional assignments that you will do is a logic model. Obviously, this is a core required course of the MPA program. To graduate, you will have to do a student learning portfolio at the end, and you will be asked to present your pre and post-instructional assignments from this class as part of that portfolio. So the logic model is one of those. The evaluation proposal at the end of the semester will be the post-instructional assignment. Make sure you retain both of those because those are going to be required of you to be able to turn that portfolio in and get credit to graduate and get out of the program. But the logic model is going to be one of our first items that we'll do a little bit in the semester. It's going to ask you to sort of provide a summary mapping of sorts of what that program that you've chosen to work with is, the target population, the resources that they use, the services that they deliver, and you'll see how that works, right? So that's going to be one of our assignments. You're going to have a midterm and a final exam. Both of those are open book, open note, online, multiple choice based exams. You will have one at the middle of the semester, one at the end of the semester. There's more information about how to study and prepare for those because those questions that you can use to study are based on the Babbie textbook reading. And so all of those questions and responses, not the correct answers, are available to you in the study guide so that you can use them to study as you read along, and then you will be able to use those notes as you wish. So there's a midterm and a final exam, 50 questions, 50 total questions per exam, 1 point per question and correct answer. About 2/3 of the way through the semester, there's a comparative analysis memo. This is a short 3-page memo that you'll write. That will be sort of a addition to our conversation on literature reviews and how to do literature reviews. We'll be writing a short memo looking at 2 different evaluation articles that you have read that are peer-reviewed literature, comparing and contrasting the findings, the methodology, what they've done well, what they didn't do well, and then talking about how what they have done can inform the evaluation design that you will present in your proposal at the end of the semester. The evaluation proposal presentation, this is basically going to be a virtual presentation that you will deliver and submit of what your final evaluation proposal design is going to be. So the way that it'll work is that you will essentially use the discussion board posts to write bits and pieces of the framework of your evaluation proposal. The way that this works is you essentially writing a long document that says, I have a program, here's what this program is, here's what they do. If I were to evaluate it, here's how I would build an evaluation for it using a research design that I have chosen. And here's why I've chosen that design. You're not going to be asked to actually do the evaluation. This is very common in like the grants fields where if you apply for grants to build to run a new program, they might ask you to give both a logic model of what that program is so they can understand what you intend to do with the money and what the program is going to do. But they'll also ask for like an evaluation plan or proposal either to fund the program or to fund research for an evaluation to say, before you go out and actually do this evaluation, I need to understand what your design is going to be and what you plan to do and why you've chosen that. Right? That is what that proposal assignment is going to be. That is going to be one of the large final assignments that you will have for this course. But your discussion post will ask you to write bits and pieces of that, which I will then give you feedback on so that you can revise and make edits. All your discussion board posts will add up to sort of an outline and a framework for that proposal, which you can refine, and then you will present in the presentation before then writing the final document, which will be turned in as a piece of paper. So we are not going to meet live to actually have a conversation and presentations in person. You will deliver your presentation the same way I am delivering this. So you can use Zoom or some alternative medium of your choice, but you will pre-record you giving the presentation in this way, since we live in a virtual world with a lot of telework these days, and you need to be comfortable being able to give a presentation like this virtually and record it for webinars or for trainings and other things. But you will do, it's a 10-minute video. You will then either download the file and then turn that in via Canvas, or you will provide a link to a cloud hosted streaming version of your presentation. Zoom can also do that. And those are both explained in the syllabus for you. And then that will be the presentation that you submit. And then I will watch and give feedback on. Then there's the final proposal assignment, which is the post-instructional assignment for this course, and the final exam. So all of these things kind of build on one another. Most of this will help you because you will also use published literature to help justify the design that you use in the evaluation proposal, and that's where the memo will come in. So everything is going to build on one another to help sort of prep you up and set you up for success in the final assignments and then work together. So 233 total points. This graduate course, so we don't do pluses and minuses in this course. So as long as you get a 89.99% or higher on the total amount of scores on the assignments in this course, you'll receive an A. Everybody from a 79.99% up to an 89.98% will receive a B, so on and so forth. And that is how we will grade based off of the different assignments that we have. I'm not going to talk about the course schedule. There's a different video as well that will go into the different sort of week by week breakdown of all the different assignments and when things are due and what content and materials required of you. So after this video, I recommend then you go next to that video before then digging into all the individual assignments. But I do want to finish off with a discussion about the course policies that you have an understanding of a little bit of what's in the syllabus. Again, they're in much more detail in the syllabus themselves. So I definitely encourage you to follow along or read these. Obviously, this is an online virtual course. It's asynchronous. You should have access to reliable internet, a personal computing device of some kind, the necessary software. Word processing of some kind is probably the main thing. You have Zoom access through the university, as well as access to email and familiarity with active use of the Canvas learning management system. So late work, I have a simple late work policy. It's a 2% penalty per day for a maximum of 10 days. Getting some points is always better than getting no points. So if you miss a deadline, you should still do your best to turn something in late, because at most 10-day maximum, we're talking about 20%. If you do a perfect score assignment, you can still get an 80%, which is definitely going to be much better for you than taking a 0, right? If you are going to be late with something, I don't need an explanation for why you're late. Just turn it in when it's late. I do recommend you probably let me know if you turn something in late and have that it has been submitted, so that way I can go back and remember to check in case I've graded everybody else's by the time you submit it. But that's basically the approval or the penalty system, right? So it's better to get something than nothing. If you have a family emergency, personal situation, something comes up in advance, let me know as early as you know if you think something is going to end up being late. Obviously, I can give exemptions to that policy based off of unusual circumstances, emergencies, and things like that. This is more so for like, I got busy at work, something came up, I just totally forgot. I still want to get credit for this assignment, turn it in. Where that one time does not apply is if we're talking about the evaluation proposal or the final exams, because grades are due shortly after the semester. I don't always have time to wait 10 days for you to be able to submit everything after the fact. So I definitely need you to tell me as soon as you know, because I haven't worked with you to do an incomplete agreement for this course. So that way you can finish after the semester ends the final assignments that are remaining and then get the incomplete converted to a regular grade, as opposed to hoping that you can just turn something in late and then I have to turn in grades. And I already presume that you're not turning something in and have had you give you a grade, which obviously those final assignments are worth a large amount. And you definitely don't want to get a 0 on one of those. So class attendance policy, obviously this is not a live class, everything is online. In terms of late work and class attendance, while I definitely don't have you showing up at week to week, right? There is deadlines every week to keep you on target and hopefully to give you a bit of a common feeling with other classes that might be more either synchronous or on campus while you're in this course, right? So you're used to kind of that week to week routine. But obviously there's no live classes, virtual attendance. As long as you're watching the videos and doing everything by the deadlines, right? Then you'll be fine. Communication, as I said, email is primarily best. I definitely recommend direct messages through Canvas. Those will come straight to me. 48 hours within a business day is my minimum expectation. I will most often reply to you much faster than that. Obviously, check the email announcements. Make sure that your Canvas emails or alerts are going to whatever email that you check most oftenly. And make sure that you're checking announcements on the LMS page from time to time throughout the week, because I will send notifications if there's anything required there. Like I said, if you need to get a hold of me urgently, you can shoot me a text if needed. If you need some assistance in this course, obviously we're not meeting in person for you to ask questions. I do have some time, usually on Tuesday nights, before or after my other live synchronous class, that I can do office hours. So if you want to set up an appointment, we can do that. Certainly that's not the only time. I do have a day job, so I'm sometimes unavailable and unreachable during certain days of the week. But I'm also happy to set up like a quick call via Zoom during the work week or whatever, if that's better for you. Just let me know. We'll set something up. Academic integrity, obviously, this is a graduate level class, right? Most of the work in this course will expect you to apply your own knowledge and decisions to these things, but you should found the basis of those should be founded in the work that you are doing through the literature reviews and other things. So you definitely want to make sure that you can rely on other resources, cite those appropriately. You shouldn't have to plagiarize for this course. You shouldn't have to go, you should be able to use resources to help you specifically and be able to benefit you in the process of doing your work. I do allow students to use AI. There's a lot of information on the AI policy. And so I also want you to make sure you look at that. If you do use AI like you use any other sources, I definitely recommend and want you to make sure that you use and cite the information. provide as in your assignments whatever you do use, and there's a way to properly use AI to make sure that you're not having it write anything for you. It's to help you brainstorm or to help give you ideas, right? And that you should cite where you use it. So all of those things are designed in the course policies section of the syllabus. I encourage you to read those and make sure that you have a strong understanding of what the expectations are for these policies. And feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions about any of those things.